Yes, sir. PPT is visible.
Okay, thank you, Shubham. So we have just talked about the basic tools, that various techniques that by which we can use the static analysis. Why a static analysis was required? What are the different ways for a static analysis? And then we moved for then we moved for this we talked about the packed and obfuscated malwares. So the packing was something compressed or encryption, and the obfuscation was a kind of making the analysis more confusing by adding some redundant information or code into the source code itself. So we have talked about that one. Then we moved to the p file execution, p file formats. We talked about all the sections, and we talked how we can modify, what are the tools available to basically change or update the contents of the p file format, so that the malicious content can be placed, or you can update the value by based on your requirement. Okay, but once you change these things, definitely you will have to rebuild the p format, and for that also lot p provides you with the functionalities. Okay, so this was the header. I think in many of the sessions I already covered. Then we talked about one important aspect of this packed and obfuscated malwares, how we are going to basically compute this, or get an intent of whether file is obfuscated or not. So for that, we have talked about the die tool here. That entropy is the technique they use to basically identify whether the file is packed or not. Okay, so if it is packed, that encrypted, so definitely that what we say, the entropy will be higher due to the randomness of the sequence of bytes. And if it is unpacked, so it will have lower entropy, and it will be close to 5 to 6 in most of the cases. Okay, and we talked about we have just summarized the tools, few of them. And then we talked about how the linking of the libraries happens. Okay, and how it will basically be useful for further analysis. Okay, so I think till now it was all clear to all of us. And then we talked about how basically the load time linking is done, how Windows Loader handles those things. And in context of that, we have talked about the data directory, the name table, the lookup table, and the address table. Okay, and how Windows Loader basically resolves the IAT, consulting the IDT and INT. That too we have already talked about. Now the question was, what do you think? Which one will be the means? Now, before moving to the question, I will just tell you in the dynamic case, what happens basically in dynamic linking. Uh, Rather than having those dependency resolved at compile time, the time whenever it will be required, based on that, basically the function call will get resolved. Okay, and in the dynamic code linking, there are delayed loading and the true runtime environment, runtime linking. Okay, so basically uh, so in case of dynamic runtime, these provisions are basically not there. You won't find those DLLs available here. Maybe fewer of them will be there, but if it is malicious file, few DLLs will be imported on the means once the program has started execution. uh, Maybe your DLL are in form of encrypted file or hash value that are going to be decrypted or unhashed at the runtime, and then there it will get called, and there the DLL will get called. So at means compile time, or in through a static analysis, you won't be able to figure out what kind of DLLs one file is basically importing. Okay, so if I ask you what will be the preferred method for malware authors, so definitely which choice they will go with, which will be the preferred choice for them. So definitely that will be it is so uh, since we don't have the provision of int and idt in case of this static this runtime, so definitely if malware always try to hide itself or the api that they are using. So definitely if such provisions can be avoided, that would be more preferred, and that's why the runtime will be preferred by the malware authors. Okay. And then we have talked about the dependency worker that lets you know what are the different DLLs basically imported by a file, and uh, and what are the functions from those DLLs are basically imported or exported. Now, when you see a packed file or unpacked file, so in case of packed file, you might see a very less number of DLLs, and those DLLs will be a very basic DLL that will be required to start the execution of the file in its basic form. Later on the go, when it starts executing, the packing will get unpacked, the stuff will work, and it will unpack the file, and then other DLLs might be imported. Okay, so this will give you the static view of DLLs. Okay, so definitely it won't capture the that DLLs on those are basically imported at runtime. So for normal file, you will see a lots more DLL compared to a packed file. So that may be another hint for the whether the file is packed or not. Okay, so we have talked about this one, and then there are few DLLs that are very frequently used in even in genuine scripting as well as the malicious scriptings. Okay, so the kernel 32 is basically it provides you the access to all the file manipulation, memory, hardware, etc. And this advanced API is basically the Windows core component that deals with the service manager and registries, while the user 32 is basically dealing with the user interfaces, what are the components are there. So it deals with that one. The graphics one, basically whatever functionality required to manipulate the graphics of user interface. Okay, so those things will be there. While networking, there are certain DLLs that are related to the networking and the way we are using establishing the connection between two different hosts. Okay, now if we talk about one unpacked executable, just for an example, and now suppose you have made some observation about the file that these are the DLLs that have been used by that file. Okay, I'm talking about unpacked. Okay, so suppose we are having these many DLLs used by that file, and suppose within that kernel 32 DLL, you have found by clicking on dependency worker, you have found that these are the functions that are being used out of this kernel 32 DLL. Okay, so what it is saying, so these are the Windows API functions that will help us to create read write file. We will be talking about in the next session, just subsequent session, and directory travels. Traversal process manipulation. Okay, likewise for user 32, we have the various APIs like show window, set window, text. So these are some GUI APIs, while there are input APIs, or we can say hooks. If you recall from the previous sessions, some expert has talked about this uh, backdoor or key logging. Okay, so this is where this is the one key critical API that basically helps the key logging process. Okay, so likewise, if you have some global hotkeys that you have registered, so this will capture that hotkeys. We will talk about this in some more detail whenever we talk about the callback functions. Okay, these are implemented using callback functions. Okay, now suppose apart from those DLLN functions that we have seen, this is the graphical APIs, the sale APIs. Okay, so graphics, it may not be malicious. It will be used by even the legitimate process or files. then the cell 32 DLL might be maybe what we can say, launching some other programs. Okay, so this may give us some malintent. And this advanced API will tell us what kind of registry manipulation or registry operation are being performed, and what are the keys on which they are performing the operations. So we will talk about this registry also. So if we summarize whatever details we have obtained, and suppose some exports that have been made, like low level keyboard process. So this is one callback function that basically capture whenever you press some key. Similarly, this is the callback function for capturing the mouse activity. Okay, so if we combine all the observation from this DLL functionality that were imported by the file, we can simply conclude that the behavior seems to be like a keylogger, that basically it creates some file. It may be writing those keylogged information into a file, and to capture the keylogging information, it has used the set windows API, and set windows API, and what we say, this low level callback functions. And also it is saying that some registry operation is also being done. Some registry key is being opened, and corresponding value is being set. So the registry manipulation is also there. So this kind of basically intuition we can get, and based on your intuition, you can further proceed with the analysis of that file. You may go with the what we say, idea pro or gidra, to further analyze the file. Okay, now, so I think this P view and others are have been already discussed. Okay, so there we can see the virtual size and the actual size, and we compare whether the file is packed or not. Okay, if you want to further get insight into the resource section, because that is the section where malicious payload can be put by malware authors, so that you can use it a resource hacker to get into the more details of the resource section. Okay, now the next we are starting with the basic dynamic analysis. So as I have told you, so it is a kind of the surgeon means the static analysis is a kind of prescription, or the tests that you are making. Okay, to get idea what kind of treatment it requires, whether it require operating or some medication will help us. So that kind of decision we take from the static analysis. While to go into the details, suppose that doctor has suggested you need to go further, and we will have to operate for basically removing that problem. So that is a kind of dynamic analysis. We are going to basically dive into the details of that analysis. So the preferred that it is encouraged to use the sandboxing mechanism, that we all know, most of us. Sandboxing is just a kind of environment where you are being isolated. Means if even if your system gets infected, it won't hamper your host system, or it might not be able to propagate to your network if you are connected with the network. So, and like it can be says, we can say it is a virtualized environment, and within that we can have some additional functionality to get the what we can summary of our logs, or we can say the reports of the malware that we are executing. So those kind of functionality being provided, so we say collectively it is a sandboxing. Okay, so, but there are problems with the sandboxing. Uh, can you point out what kind of problem we may face in sandboxing? Sorry for the mistake in the spelling. What kind of sandboxing, what kind of problem we can face? Sometimes what happens in sandboxing, we can go in the breached mode, NAT. We can use the NAT technology, but it is discouraged. But so if you are not using any NAT technology, so what will happen whenever you execute the malware? Suppose that malware itself wants some malware itself is expecting some command and control from the some distant server. So that won't be possible. The command and control server won't be able to means the malware won't be able to connect with the command and control server because of the isolated environment. And if it does not get that response, maybe the malware won't execute or reflect its full behavior. So that may be case, and the other case may be like once the malware get into your system, the malware decides that I will execute after 1 month. So you won't wait for that longer, get it? So that could be the case. So there are various possibilities, the drawbacks, but we always make some trade-off, what risk we can basically sustain, and how to what extent the information is required. So we will have to basically make that trade-off. Okay. So basically, the purpose is clear. We have exhausted the static analysis, or the files are basically obfuscated or packed. So that's why we need to basically, in order to get the idea, or in order to analyze the file, we need to basically run the file so that it will get unpacked, and whatever DLLs were encrypted or were passed through encrypted strings or hashed values will basically map to the actual one, and at the runtime you will get to know what kind of DLLs they are incorporating. So for that purpose we will be basically doing the dynamic analysis. Now the thing is, in the previous session also, the Abhijit Mohanta sir had talked about this running a file. uh, so uh, he has talked about, so suppose running an exe file, just by clicking the file itself will work. But what about the DLL? DLL by default are not meant to execute directly, but the purpose of DLL is to serve others. Okay, they have the function definition, they have the full operational definitions. Other exe or other files will basically take the help from that DLL to complete its execution or to complete its functionality or requirements. Okay, so running exe is fine, but how we can force the DLLs to run? Okay, so for that you might have heard many of the time that run dll32.exe can be used. So the thing is, DLLs are not built or designed to execute directly. And if you recall from the basic programming, whenever you want to run some program or code, we need a file with its main function, है ना? We define int main, and then we write some function call there, and then we start. So some entry point is required, but what additional provision is required to fully make that DLL executable won't be available with the DLL file. So that's why we need certain host files. Okay, that will basically host your DLLs. Okay, the files that are not self-sufficient means they have not all the information or all the instruction to execute it by their own. Okay, so run DLL32 is basic host file that basically helps your DLL to execute like a normal exe file. So this could be a simple C program where this run DLL32.exe is implemented, and it expects, this is a program, it expects some DLL file that you want to run using this one, and uh, some parameter it requires. So those parameter will be nothing but some export function which will help you, will help this DLL gets registered with your service manager. Okay, so for that you need some export arguments. So basically programs can be executed as a means normal process or as a service. Means if it is going to run as a service, means it is a background process. So even if you are doing something, that particular process will be running in the system, and that may survive the boots. Okay, each time you are going to boot your system, your that service might boot up at the same time, and it will start running from the beginning. So this will help to basically to register any program as a service, you will have to basically notify that SCM. You might have heard the term SCM, Service Control Manager. So basically, your program should have some mechanism by which it will inform SCM that I am a service, I want to register myself as a service. Okay, and that mechanism should be provided through this export argument. Means this is the export function that will be, this is export function, and what you want to basically achieve from that one. Okay, so this part will be helping the DLL get registered as a service. Okay. Okay, so the export value is one of the exported function you found in dependency worker, है ना? So in the dependency worker we have the two sections. The one was the import and the other one was the export. So you can take any export function. Uh, we cannot take any export function. The function that is intended to register this DLL as a service only, that will be basically provided here. Okay, so and the other steps can be taken to execute the DLL by modifying the PE header itself. So we can just modify the PE header. So one part was there that tells that what kind of file is this. Is it an exe or a DLL? So that signature, if you basically just delete that part, the Windows loader will treat it as a normal exe, and that will do the work, but it is not reliable most of the time, because that may break the execution of the program, but to some extent it might help in capturing some of the functionality of the file, but not fully. Okay, because the DLL is not meant to be executed directly. You are forcing it. Okay, so definitely at some point it will break down, and you won't be fully analyze that file. Okay, but you may get some hint out of that one. Now, how it basically works. Okay, so whenever we load a DLL, so DLL is one file. Within that, we have written some functions that will be used or shared by various what we say other files. Okay, like we in C code we write import this, import stdi.h or import something. Okay, so that will be treated like a DLL. Okay, so basically we are importing that some function out of that header. So that header will provide you the service for that function, and that is what we are saying, that DLL. Okay, so this DLL is basically the service provider, and a basic example of this one could be like this way. Okay, so suppose you have the main file, you have written the main file, and this is header, means you want the services from your Windows. Okay, so we have created one function pointer, the normal function pointer that we have. Okay, we we will be talking about the handles. Okay, we will be talking about handles later in the section, but for the time being, just assume it as a pointer, and this HDLL is nothing but a pointer returned by this load library. So load library is responsible to just look after this malware.dll file, and wherever it will get found, it will basically return the address or pointer to this module, है ना, or handle. Now if it does not return anything, means the file was not there. So and then you don't have to basically means that won't get executed. If it is not null, so whatever function you are means what you want to basically achieve from this one, so you can basically go by this one. So you can get process address, so you can, once the pointer is returned, so this is the malware DLL, means like in C we write import stdio.h. So within that stdio.h we are having definitions of various functions. Now this load library says, means returning a pointer to the stdio dot file, the base pointer. Okay, and once the pointer is returned, you are basically trying to find out a particular function within that file. DLL file. So that the function, the API function that we use is get process address, and the function that we are looking, the pointer means pointer to that stdio.h file, and the install means the particular function that we are looking for. Once the get process address, this API finds this function, the name of the function, it will return a pointer to that function. So that's why we have created a, function pointer. Okay, and if it is not null, so whatever function you want, you can execute it. Okay, and finally, you are required to free up this pointer. Otherwise, you know, the dangling pointer and other problem that will arise out of that one. So this is a simple use, means how DLL can be basically used through different script. Okay, how the functionality can be used. So whenever Windows loader loads this DLL, the first function it calls is DLL main. Okay, so the DLL main will be the first function which will get called just after loading the DLL. Okay, and then only all the exported function will be basically provided. So once you are going to basically this is the example for the run DLL. So it could be something like this way. So you have written that the xdll and whatever exported function is there. Okay, so Windows will first load the DLL. Okay, by executing DLL main. Okay, and then it starts exporting. Okay, now how we can basically turn this DLL into exe, I have already talked about that one. So we can just change one entry that indicates that this file is, whether this file is exe or DLL. So if we omit this one, that one, it will be treated like it is a kind of exe file by the Windows loader. Okay, so the next thing is, whenever we talk about the DLL, execution of DLL, the thing that comes into our mind is the persistency. Uh, or if we talk about the services means how persistently those processes are running. Okay, whenever you are restarting your system, whenever you are booting your system, the process that you require at the beginning are a kind of services. Okay, so services and persistency both are basically, we can say both are synonyms, we can say, but not exactly, but we can treat them like that way. Okay, so whenever we talk about the persistency, so persistency can be basically obtained in various ways. The one approach for persistency could be these DLLs. So you can use these DLLs to basically maintain the persistency. So now, how this DLL can be used for this persistency? So the one is that you can this uh, uh, what we have learned till now, that executing a DLL needs some host services, है ना? That will help you to basically launch that DLL as a normal executable file. So either you can use with the SCM, or you can go with your own custom file. Okay, so if you go with the SCM, and so and if the SCM is having this, uh, again, the SCM is responsible to register any program or file as a process. So there will be two possibilities: either uh, you are using some host that is offered by the Windows, or you have your own custom host. Host means the file that will basically help you execute the DLL as a normal exe file. So we are having two options: either we can use the existing host function, a host uh, program, or we can have our own custom program that will execute this DLL as a exe file. Now for that particular function, means if we talk about the using system defined host program, so you might have heard about the SBC host. Service host. Service host is basically, the purpose of service host is to execute DLL as a service. So if you open your process explorer or your task manager, you will find under the task manager or your process explorer that there are so many threads of SVC host running parallelly, and they all are basically attaching different kind of DLLs. So we can say this SVC host is providing you the environment to basically help you execute DLLs. Okay, so there are lots of DLLs on Windows systems that needs a help from SVC host to get executed, or to get executed as a service. Okay, so this is a service host. So either you can go with the service host that will provide all the necessity functionalities, or you can design your own custom host, but in that case you will have to write all the export that you required in order to register your DLL as a service. Okay, so if we summarize this one, so the persistency means surviving the reboots through the service control manager. Okay, and it, the advantage of this one is basically you will have the means privilege of what local system or the files on local system is having. Okay, so you will have a escalated privilege. Okay, now there can be two different paths to execute that DLL as a service. The one that the export exists, so you can directly use that export using that run 32 DLL. Okay, or there is another exe range something, exe is there, so range 32 like something, so you can use that registry exe to also host your DLL. Okay, so two parts are there. The one of part is the export is available. In case of export is available, you can directly go with the run DLL. If your export is not available, means what is the purpose? Can anybody tell me what is the purpose of this export? Anybody please? Means what is the purpose of export here? Then only it will be clear what, why we are going through this two path. How export will help us or help the malware? So basically the export was responsible to help you register your program with the service manager or the SCM, that this program will now, should now be treated as a service, and whenever system reboots or restart, the service should, how that service should start. Should it be manually started or should it be automatically started at boot time? Okay, so the second option is no exports are available. So if you don't have any exports, so you are left with two options. Either you write your own host function that will have the export information, or you can make use of the SVC host that is having all the required functionality available in that one. Okay, so you can just you can just visualize it like this way. So this whenever we talk about the SPC host, so it is the story, we can say the kingdom of Windows. Okay, where we say that this the SCM manager, SCM is a kind of the king of the kingdom. Okay, and whenever this kingdom has various workshops. Okay, and this workshop may have different groups that are working parallelly. So there may be two situations. The one is the independent workers. Okay, and the other one is the custom one. So independent one means they don't have any tools to basically operate. They directly use this SPC host. Okay, the shared workshop where tools are available, you can directly use that tools. You know everything, you can use the tools to basically perform your task, while the custom one will won't use this SVC host. While it will design, it will come with its own tool, and it will say that I am also a kind of workshop means I can also provide you a kind of workshop to the kingdom, and then it basically register its workshop or its function as a kind of service, we can say, okay, with the kingdom. And that kingdom is that with the king, and king is nothing but the SCM manager. So this is what the SCM, the control manager's work is. So it is the king of the kingdom, where the workshops are being organized. Um, so this way basically we can summarize this part. Let's go into some more details of how this the options can be performed. So there were two options: one, the export is available, the other one is export is not available. If export is available, we can directly go with the run 32 DLL. That will be helpful. Or if not, we will talk about that next. So the run DLL32 is the host function, okay. And if you have the export, suppose this is your malicious DLL or the legitimate DLL, this DLL also provides the export function. Means within that export, the DLL, the export function is there, and that says the install service, okay. Install service and the name of the service that with which you want to basically register this service, है ना. So suppose if you want to register it with mal malware service or my service, whatever name you want to provide, whatever name you will provide, this name will be used by the SCM to register your DLL as a service in the registry, okay. And this install service is a kind of exported function that this DLL provides. This DLL will provide this functionality, and within this function you will see a lot more number of codes that will instruct the SCM how to basically register this file or register this DLL. What should be the parameter, what should be the value, from where it should be loaded, how it should be loaded, should it be automatically started or manually. So all the information should be the SCM will fetch from this install service function, okay. If it is not there, the other options we are having, okay. So this is what we are having. So it will write under the registry. Just forget about this HKLM, we will be talking about it later. So it writes under the registry, that's fine for now. And then the next one will it is just starting the service. So whatever name you have provided to the service, once it is basically registered, all the functionality is there, so you can directly start this service, okay. So once you start, you will find it executing. So basically whatever changes it is going to do, you can basically see it in registry key value. So if you will observe the registry before executing the first line and after executing the first line, you will definitely see some registry key values are basically created. So just forget about these details. It will be clear just after some further discussion on registries. And the other options are, we are left with the other option if export is not there. So if no export is there, either you are having the host provided by the operating system itself, or you have your own custom host. So if you are having this that provided host by the system, that is named as SVC host, that is services host, okay. So there are few steps involved in that one. So you will have to first create a service for that one, okay. And means service. So if you recall that your DLL is not executable, that's why you need the service host, है ना. So now you will have to basically create a service, okay. Suppose the service name is this one, and what kind of service is this one. So this type will indicate the way this service will be treated. So share means now within that particular service, there might within that particular program there might be multiple services that you are offering. So that's why this share is there. And start means how you are going to start the service. Is it on demand, means whenever you click or whenever you manually start, then only it will start, or should it be automatic? Okay. And then you will also provide where this uh, the path of the that host. So in our case, in this first case, when no export is there, the is we will have to provide the path of service host, है ना? And service host usually resides in windows slash system 32. So we have provided that path. Along with what we have done is we have provided a group name. Okay, this group name suggests that this SBC host should execute whatever services are within this group. So it can be thought of like this way: my group is a kind of folder, and within that there are different executable files. So whenever service host is going to execute, it can execute any of the files or executables that are there under the my group. Okay, so this is how we are creating a service. Okay, now once you execute this one, the SCM, the service control manager, will get to know how we are going to basically operate upon this service. So service is now this whole, not a single this my group or this name. This whole is now being registered as my service. Okay, this is a host function or a host program that will help the file under this my group to execute. That's it. We have registered it, and now we will have to basically update the details about this DLL. Means whenever SVC host will execute, where it will find this DLL. Okay, the DLL that you require under this one, or the file that you require under this one. So you will have to basically provide it through some parameters. Sorry. Okay, so that you will have to basically register. We will have to basically add that part. So adding that part means you are going to provide under the services, means this is the registry key that we are having under the services. Once you have created this one, you will find that one my services has been created. Under that you should update the parameters. Okay, what will be the name of the parameter? Okay, that is the value. What is the type of the parameter? Means what kind of parameter it is this. So it is saying that it should be registry expanded strings. Okay, so expanded strings means in within that my group there may be several DLLs files you want to execute. So you can directly register them all as a string, semicolon or comma separated strings. That's what it is saying. And from where those will be loaded, so you will have to also provide the path from that where it will get loaded. Okay, so once you have registered, okay, so you will have to register this group membership with the SBC host, so that SBC host will get to know, okay, this is the service, means this is the group. Whenever I am going to initiate one instance of SBC host, I should basically consider these DLLs. I have written only one, but there might be multiple DLLs separated by comma. Okay, so all the uh, DLLs will be considered by this SBC host, and then finally you basically start the service like earlier that you have done. Okay. Okay, so fine. Next, the best option, most malware authors basically work on this one. So that is the custom host exe. You write your own custom host function. Okay, and within that, basically you will have to provide some main function. Okay, so you don't have the install service function, so you will have to provide the a main function. From that main function, you will have to provide a mechanism by which your program will get registered with SCM. And for that, you will have to basically call this API. We say that start service control dispatcher. Okay, so once you basically call this API, it will get to know that you want to register it as a service, means that exe you want to register it as service. Okay, so what functionality we require? We require that whatever code you are writing, that must provide a mechanism to register the TXE with the SCM. you will have to write the code to load the malicious DLL, and finally to call the main function. Okay, the main function that will serve the purpose. Okay, so you can directly register since your exe is now a host. So we don't need to go with the SBC host. We can rather create a my service host and register it like this way. This exe is having all the information how you are going to register it with the SCM. Okay, so that's why additional parts are omitted here, unlike this SBC host case. Okay, so if you just go through this simple code, what it says is, uh, just look at here. So this is saying that this is start service control dispatcher. It is saying that you should register this function, and which function that will be provided by the service table entry. And this service table entry is a kind of array. You can have many uh, means entries here. So this service control dispatcher will register this service main as a service. Okay, and it will call the main function of this one. Okay, and the main function is nothing but this the main function will be something like this service main. So what it does, your service main, so once you have registered it, the function will be called. Within that, the path will be basically from where this will be found, that pointer will be returned, and within that pointer, within that DLL, your service main should be there. In DLL, if you forget to provide the service main, the file won't run. Service main means some kind of main function should be there, the entry point should be there. Okay, you can name it uh, uh, any name, you can provide it any name. Okay, so you have provided the handle to that one, means pointer to the whole DLL file, and within that you are trying to figure out where the service main is there. Once you find the service main or the main entry point, like in C we have, or C++ we have main, so that main, the address to the main you have returned. Okay, and using that function pointer, now you are going to basically execute the functionality or perform the objective of that particular code, the DLL code. Okay, so this is how we can basically uh, host a DLL as a service. So we are having three things. If whenever we want to basically go with DLL as a service, we want to execute DLL as a service. We are having different options. The one is the service. If the file, the DLL itself provides you with the export function, so we can, and service main, you can directly use run DLL32. That is um, that will work for us. The other is, you don't have the export function. In that case, there are two options. The one is you can go with the SBC host provided by Windows, or you can write your own custom function, but the custom function should be designed in such a way that you must provide mechanism to to basically handle these requirements. Okay, how you are going to register, how you are going to load the malicious DLL, how you are going to basically find where the main function within that DLL is, and then it will start executing. Okay, so this is the whole, we can say, the flow of when we are going with the SBC host and when we are going with the custom plus DLL service. Okay, so if you compare with the what registry changes will be there, so you will find few minor differences with this one. So in case of custom host, you won't find any parameters like service DLL or whatever. But in this case, you will have to SBC, in the case of SBC host, you will have to explicitly provide from where you are going to basically load the DLL. So this is the minor difference between how we are going to basically execute this DLL. Okay. Okay. Uh, I think we have also talked about the process monitors, so that is also fine with us. You have a lot more discussion on process monitors. Okay, we have talked about the process explorer yesterday, and the earlier sessions also have discussed on on this one. So the process explorer, you can basically use it in different ways. Few we can say options are basically like verifying whether your program is coming from some authenticated service provider or not. Okay. And whether it is protected against the buffer overflow or not. So some file you have downloaded, like suppose for example, if you go with the earlier notepad version, na, so that the notepad was vulnerable to this stack overflow attack. So for that, this provides you the indicative uh, hint that whether that file is protected against the that buffer overflow or not, or what kind of technique that it use, like is it use the DEP only, or DEP with ASLR. Okay. So that provision you can you can basically verify it from the process explorer. Okay. So basically, many of the time we heard that PDF could also be malicious. So in the PDF, some metadata are added, and that metadata helps you to basically execute some malicious code. So you can basically analyze that. After opening the PDF, you watch for the that process explorer. If your PDF is spawning some we can say file or executing some file, definitely that will be a kind of malicious one, because PDF is not intended to execute any process or to launch any process. Okay. So these are a few differences. I think by now you are aware about what kind of functionality it can achieve. Okay. Mhm. And one important aspect is, so we have talked about registry many of the times, but do we have any functionality that can tell us what changes have been made post installation of some new file? So for that, you can go with the reg sort. Okay. The reg sort is a tool that provides you a different view of a registry uh, pre-installation of an application and post installation of an application. Okay. And you can basically compare. So you can take a first shot of the uh, registry. Okay. And before installing the application or before running the application, and after running the application, you can take the second shot, and then you can just click on the compare, and it will show you various details of the registry differences that have been there post installation of your application. Okay. So this is one way you can basically check for the registry, and we will see how critical this registry is, and how it will serve the purpose for malware. Okay. So with this, we are done with this dynamic part. We will be looking for a Windows malware analysis, how we are going to deal with the Windows malware analysis. So uh, so if you have any question till now, just let me know. Any question from this session, you may please ask. Any questions?
Anyone has any questions, please mention them in chat box.
So I assume that if there is no question, so I assume this session to be closed for uh, first half, and we will be meeting in the second half. Okay. So, and if you
Yes.
have any question, you may email me, or you can just share it in the next session that we will be having today itself. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rajesh and Ankush, and thank you all. So we will be meeting in the second half, and that will be about memory forensics taken by Abhijit Mahanta sir. He will be introducing you with the tools and techniques for how we can analyze the memory forensics. So once again, thank you all. Thank you for your patience. So thank you, Manali and Shubham. So we are now closed for the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.